much for coming. 3,000 years of history. We are the oldest brand in the world, and we're just about to give it to you free. That's it. Have a nice day.
Nothing's free.
So 3,000 years comes to more than 32 empires controlling the city, changing the architecture, bringing in new beliefs, old faiths, hate, love, and still no films were made about or in Jerusalem. And as you know, Jerusalem is the biggest city in Israel, 800,000 people, and the capital of Israel, and the most beautiful city in the world. But still, only 5% of Israel's films were shot in Jerusalem. We rather use the phrase filmed in Jerusalem. During 60 years of the statehood until we were brought up. That means one film every second year. Only 30 films were shot in Jerusalem. Out of them, 27 films were dealt with the stereotype of Jerusalem, which is conflict and ultra-Orthodox, which we have. But we also have 40,000 art students learning in Jerusalem, making love, and that wasn't on the screen. Not in television and not in cinema. So we, and when I say we, I mean the Jerusalem Development Authority and the mayor of Jerusalem approached the government and told them, okay, give us pilot money and we'll change that from one movie every 2 years, we'll do something a bit more. So they gave us money for 2 years, that was back in 2008. And in a year and a half, we changed the cinematic view of Israel cinema from 5% of Israel cinema to 25% of Israel cinema shot in Jerusalem, and we kept that up to date. It means 6 or 7 films a year in Jerusalem. And that really changed the way people in Israel look at the screen and see themselves on the screen and feel something different about Jerusalem. So the minute we finished that and succeeded, we came to the government and said, okay, our next horizon is to bring international productions. Because as you all know, Israel and Zimbabwe are the only 2 countries in the world that don't have incentives for international productions to come over. New Mexico has, New York City has, Israel doesn't need it. If they want to come, you come, you don't want to come, you don't come. So we approached the government said that it won't work, they won't come. Give us a little money and we'll do it. So we started with really low budget European films, which European cinema is very close to Israeli cinema in the budgets, in the way we work. And we brought about 6 or 7 European, German, English, Spanish, French speaking films to Israel, about Israel. And we started seeing Israel up there on the screen. Okay, so our appetite grew. And we came to the government, of course, with the help of Keshet and a lot of kind people here in LA. And we said, okay, let's try and bring something really big to Jerusalem. And the first one was NBC's Universal Dig, USA Networks. And that was really a big, gigantic production. We're talking about millions of dollars spent in Israel and up on screen to see a different kind of Jerusalem. Last year we were in New York during the Super Bowl. You know what the Super Bowl is? And at the golden break, suddenly you see Jerusalem up on screen. Jerusalem, NBC, Dig. That's worth a bit more than $10,000 that we have. So we were very excited, and the government approved this new deal, the support system. It's Israel's only support system for international productions, and it's the best in the world. We checked it out. We give back a 60% cash rebate on every dollar spent in Jerusalem, which means not a tax incentive, not complicated. You show us the script, if we like it, we sign a contract, we discuss about the cap, and you go shoot your film, you finish the film, you give the audited reports, and we write down a check. And when I say we write down a check, I'm talking about Udi, who's sitting here, he writes down the check. So that wasn't enough, and we decided we'll go into something different that Israel doesn't have and doesn't think about, which is animation. We have great talents, both artistic and technology talents, computer and software, but there's no industry in Israel, not in Jerusalem, in Israel there isn't industry, and they all find work here in LA, in Toronto and Vancouver, in Europe, and we heard some people here telling us, come on, enough Israelis coming over, try to keep them home. So we started to build an industry in Jerusalem. That was a year and a half ago we decided to do it. Today, 18 months later, we have 2 big studios running in Jerusalem. 5 Israeli animation feature films are going to be done this year in Jerusalem. Disney are sending part of their new television series to be done in Jerusalem. Technicolor and Oded from the operating room are going to bring their big production to Jerusalem. And there's a few more things secret that maybe next year we can brag about. But what we did is in 7 years, a revolution on the screen, both in Israeli, both in international, and now animation. And our next horizon, because we have a growing appetite, is to build the biggest sound stage in the Middle East in Jerusalem to hold Israeli productions, international productions, and even productions that don't tell the story about Jerusalem, just want to do the work with great crews. And now, as our friend Mr. Chaplin said, action speaks louder than words. Let's run the clip.